What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from ActTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today we're going to talk about La Maison. Did I get it right? What's that? It's as French as I get. It's on Apple Plus, and it has English audio description, which means it's dubbed, but it also does have English audio description. So if you want to watch, Apple's been really good about this. Like, Netflix needs to get on the Apple train. They need to, Apple has been pretty much like, we don't care what country it comes from, it's going to have audio description. Meanwhile, Netflix is like, some of our international shows will have audio description every once in a while, but we're going to give all of them to you anyway. Apple's just like, no, fuck it, we're just going to put audio description on everything. Consistency, 100%. So for my blind audience, I've got my purple hat on backwards, black sunglasses, and I'm wearing a Kirby shirt. So I watched the first 2 episodes of La Maison. La Maison. I don't even know. I'm just having so much fun with this title. I'm never going to watch this series again. This was so boring. I love Pachenko. Like, I'm super engaged by Pachenko as a series, and I kind of want to give La Maison like another episode just in case. So I might give it a 3rd episode. I don't know. There are a lot of new shows that drop this week and then next week, and it's just like an onslaught of series, and it's the perfect time to let something go that you're just like, I don't know. It centers around like a French fashion house that is like storied, like it's been around forever. Their designer is well known, but it's sort of an aging brand, and he has a moment where he gets caught on camera being extremely racist, and it goes viral, and their company has to kind of figure out what to do about that. And it shows the other people who work for the company, family members, models like his muse or slash, and all of the dynamics and everybody that works around with him, and sort of also him. He's still a huge part of this, and belligerently so, but he also feels like a character that could easily be written off by the end of the season. So he doesn't feel like he's necessarily a permanent presence in the show, but he does feel like somebody who has his claws in at least the first 2 episodes and is like, I'm not giving this up. I don't know why. I should have to. This is bullshit. It's like, and people are trying to explain to him, you're racist. You're bad for the brand. If we keep you on, the brand will collapse. We have to immediately, we've got people out there protesting and spray painting graffiti, and just like the world is generally losing their mind right now because of what you said. So the only way we're going to get through this is without you. And the question is, it becomes sort of like a little bit of a Succession thing, like, well, then who? If not him, then who? There's this other fashion designer that isn't even a part of this fashion house, that they're like, well, maybe, if they're the future of fashion, maybe we should be courting somebody like that. Just a whole bunch of different characters. Anyway, they're kind of bouncing around. They still don't really know. It's not like really firm in the 2nd episode, so I don't really know. And it's kind of hard to read all the characters because it is an ensemble show. The 1st episode is kind of about introducing people and building up, and then they drop the bomb of the, oh shit, he's a racist. Look at that. Here's the video. And then everybody sees it. That's kind of the 1st episode. The 2nd episode is kind of like the fallout from that. And he's struggling to like stay in, and he's like, well, I'm not leaving, and a little bit of that battle. So I feel like the 3rd episode is going to show a little bit more of it starts to suggest Succession pathways for characters, but it doesn't really do it in a definitive way where I could say, oh, it definitely feels like this person, or it feels like it's going to be a battle between blank and blank, or blank and blank, like how many characters, I don't know. It's still very much like in flux. It's a interesting introduction to a series, but I also found it a little bit tedious and honestly just a little bit boring. It's a little bit slow. yeah, it just wasn't quite as engaging. I didn't care quite as about these characters, and perhaps maybe that's because they're all tied to sort of a racist tirade, one way or another. They're tied somehow to this central character who is a dick, and uh, we don't get quite the individuality of each one of these characters and the backstory in each one of these characters, so that they feel separate. Everybody just kind of feels like the job is their central focus, which means he's their central focus. So I don't know enough about these people as humans to care about any of them after 2 episodes. It's all sort of a focus of the industry, the business, this brand, and this one catalyst event that happened, and now this cancellation thing that's going on in the wake of it. So if you're looking for sort of like a rich ensemble cast, I don't know that you build that in the first 2 episodes of this. I think that's something that perhaps over the course of time, maybe by the end of the season that you'll have that. But the thing about pilots is that you're never guaranteed more than 1 episode. So you have to be interesting out of the gate um, to get somebody to watch again. And I went ahead and did the second episode, even though I wasn't crazy about the first episode, for the very reason that I was talking about. Is I didn't feel like I had a great grasp of who everybody was, like as people, the main cast, and like why everybody was there and where we were headed. I felt like it was all just about this thing. We spent an hour leading up to, this moment of releasing this racist tirade to the world. I was like, great. So is this show just about cancellation? Because he's not sympathetic at all. It's not like this is a guy who it was taken out of context or anything like that. And that's where we're headed as a series, is how people are misrepresented. No, he's an ass. So we spent so much time getting interested in that now I'm like, okay, so who are these other characters? Because I don't want him anymore. He's not even like Logan Roy, where he's like interesting as a sort of like an anti-hero. Like there's a part of him where you're like, well, he has a point. And then other times where you're like, oh my God, I wouldn't do that. You know, he's not that complex of a character. They have failed to even make him complex. They've done the right thing here, which is to make him unrelatable, because he's supposed to be, because what he said was unforgivable. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to play this character one of two ways. You have to play it as a my words have been manipulated and taken out of context, and then show us the context in which they were taken out of, so that instantly we know that this is being manipulated, and it's like, who's manipulating this, and then figure that out. Or you take this up front as is, which is what we're doing, which is that this was the kind of thing that people should not say out loud, and it just happened to be caught on camera for the world to see. But at no point should it have ever been said. Sort of like the Papa John's guy. I don't think he thought in that phone call that anybody was going to record him dropping racist slurs. But Papa John's has really had to work to earn the trust of the Black community back after that. So yeah, I mean, sometimes you say things and you're not necessarily saying them to like a large crowd of 20,000 people, but you're saying them to people. And in this day and age, people have phones and they can record you and they can put you up there. And you can go from being the head of a fashion house that's been around forever to being irrelevant overnight. And but as a series, though, when you're asking me to get invested in an ensemble cast, I need more of the ensemble cast. I almost needed an episode that was just, what is La Maison, without the And then at the end of the second episode, we have the racist tirade. Like, put an entire episode up front that just introduces me to what this world is. Who are these people? Don't even bring up the tirade. Just get me interested in these characters and how they work. Show him as a normal fucking person who's just a dick, so that way we're ready for it. And second episode, do what you do in the first episode. Because part of the thing here is now I'm left with, well, I don't know who anybody is, and I have to watch a third episode to learn these. I should have learned who these people were in the first episode. This is why pilots are so important, and we don't we don't put a focus on that anymore. Nobody has to make a pilot to get to series anymore. They just get series orders. So streaming services just, they meet with people and they order things, or they'll see a script or maybe even a presentation, but people aren't making full pilots for Apple and for Netflix, and they're getting orders. So there's a lot less effort in making sure that first episode is a banger. But networks still have to do that. Networks are still ordering pilots, which is the best thing about this, and what streamers should probably start doing is ordering pilots, because there's something to be said about that first episode and making sure, because when you start seeing the dip off, a lot of times, if it's right after the first episode, it means the first episode didn't work. And it's hard to get people back later on when you're like, oh no, the series finds its footing halfway through. Well, I stopped watching in episode 1, so now I have to go back and rewatch it to get to the point where you're like, oh, it gets better. And I mean, I don't have that kind of time. Like, do you have that kind of time? Who has it? It gets tough when a series starts to go off the rails if it doesn't start strong. And I just don't think Les Maison started as strong as it could have. I think it's an okay start, but it's dropping at a time. This is not the right time to drop a mediocre show. This is not the right time to drop a show that's not super strong for Apple, and to hope it gets eyes in the middle of the fall TV season with everybody dropping new shows like left and right, and returning shows coming back, and we've got high profile things like Agatha All Along and The Penguin, and people are bouncing around, and Apple's like, well, we've got this French drama. Great. I don't know. I just don't think it's the right time for the show. It should have dropped in a little bit of a quieter marketplace where it could have found its footing and people might have been willing to give it a longer run. But I think people are filling up their dance cards, and I don't know how many people are going to be watching La Maison. I could see this also on the flip side, people who do stick with it, this being like something that becomes incredibly critically acclaimed. So this could go one of two ways, but it requires people to stick with it. And that's the question that I don't know, is how many people are going to watch these episodes and then keep going. Because I think this could be an excellent TV show, but it's hard to predict that because I don't think it's started off excellently. Like, I don't think this was a great beginning. So, I'm going to give Les Maisons, I'm going to give it a B-. I think it could have started stronger, but I don't really have, I'm not going to say it's bad, but I definitely should have known. By the end of the second episode, I should know who all these people are. And I kind of have a vague idea of the supporting cast. Anyway, that's it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.